Well, good morning. Let's go ahead and get started. So we're going to be live for the next hour. So feel free to invite people. Feel free to comment if you need to, leave and come back. You should be able to access the feed from our Facebook page. We're just filming this at my house out back, so you may get birds and my kids and stuff like that coming and going. But we felt like it was important to talk about the emails and the posts that have gone out. This is not something that we normally do. It's not fun. It's not a happy topic. If you've been to our meetings, we like to feature the people that really make this community what it is and talk about the nonprofits and the charities, and then we get into solutions and all that kind of stuff. But this is something entirely different. It's a problem. It is a huge problem, and it impacts more than just Navarre. It impacts our entire county, um, and it's extensive from everything that we can tell. So there's massive amounts of problems. We're going to discuss that, kind of recap briefly what we've already put out, and then we're going to go into some new information that we've acquired in the past day. Mike Matthews is here. Mike Matthews is on our board in Preserve Navarre. So he is someone that's been part of us for what's been a year and a half now. And so for some of this stuff, it's kind of new for him. A lot of this information is just coming to light. For me, I'm learning new stuff every day. So if you've got thoughts, if you've got comments, I can see on the chat here people asking stuff. So if you want me to slow down or anything, there's any kind of problems, let me know. And then towards the end, we'll actually be doing a little bit of a Q&A. So any comments that you put, any questions, I can bring them up on screen. And I've already got a bunch of other folks. If for any reason we drop off, we'll just reset and start it back up on our page. So we plan on going for an hour. Okay. So let's start getting into some of the information. So let's talk first about why should you care about this. Before I kind of recap what we know, let's talk about why this matters, because I think there's a discussion there that people are having, and they're just like, it's just corruption in government, corruption in business, corruption in my community. It's all the same. This is not the same. This is an extensive, big problem that is happening with this water system, and I don't think we know the end of it. I don't think we know all the issues that are going on, but we know enough to know that this is a big deal. Why should you care? It's your money. It's your money. You're paying your utility companies every month, and if you're like me, I mean, we're both veterans. When you move a lot, you just set up your water company bill, you automate it, and you go on with your life. And as long as it's not hundreds and hundreds of dollars, you just kind of assume that everything's fine. Well, it's not fine. It's not fine here. This is not normal what we're seeing. And if you care about how your money's being spent and whether it's being taken from you, and whether it's being used for the right things or the wrong things, then this matters. So, and for people that have lived here longer than I have, they tell me all the time that the water system has been a problem for years and years. So, is that something you've heard, Mike?
Of course.
Yeah.
I think if you're here for a few years, that's probably the exact. Um, you hear all the stories. You hear
Yeah.
water mafia. I hate these sayings because it's dismissive, isn't it?
Yeah.
You just say it and then you forget about it and you move on. But yes, where does your money go? Because any well-run company and reinvest back into their company
Right.
to make it,
Right.
you would say, successful, but make sure that it maintains itself now, doesn't it?
And doing what is right. Yeah, that's one of the first things that I heard is when I started getting involved is business owners told me, hey, there's problems with the water system. It's a massive problem, and you've got to get into that if you care about this community. It's not something you can just brush aside. So, and now we're kind of seeing why that is. It's your community. I mean, this is us, and I feel that there's just this kind of defeatist attitude, not amongst everybody, but among some folks of, well, what can I do? Can I really make a difference? You're talking about $70 million in assets, a massive company, and I don't understand it all. What can I possibly do to make a difference against this? Can we actually take on corruption and things that are wrong and make a difference as a community? And I believe we can. I've always believed that, and that's based on people like that are on this chat. The fact that there's 25, 30 of you now that have logged in to figure out more. That's hope. That tells me. Yeah, I can see all the
Yeah.
comments. That tells me that people do care. And I think us working together, and maybe you don't agree with us on everything. Maybe, you've seen stuff that we've done, or we've made mistakes as a group, or I made mistakes, and you don't like that. I understand that. But maybe we can agree on this, and that's what we're going to talk about. The other thing is that we believe it's still happening, and that's why I'm doing this video. Is I wouldn't be talking about this if it wasn't current. Okay, if there was nothing that we could do, if this wasn't still happening, if we didn't still have problems, risk, liabilities going on, I wouldn't be talking about this. I have no interest in personally attacking someone who's not hurting anybody else. Okay, if this person had been, you know, convicted and served his time and had gone on with his life and everybody understood it, and he just wanted to have a quiet life and stop hurting people, we would not be talking about this. The reason that we are here today talking about this on a Saturday morning is because we believe and are starting to receive evidence that this is still a problem today in 2022. And that's why you should care, is because who is this person hurting? Who is this system hurting? And what are the effects of that if we don't do anything, if we just allow this to stand? So that's why you should care. Let me quickly recap what we know. These are the facts, okay? People message me all the time and they tell me, what they think and what their experiences, their stories, all that kind of stuff is going to get sorted out. But let me tell you the facts. Fact one is that the county has a long-standing 99-year agreement with the water system to provide service. And I just want to stop here for a minute because when I heard that, it was a massive red flag. I don't think I'm going to live to 99 years. I mean, maybe you will, Mike. Maybe some
No,
of you
no,
guys
I hope
might.
not.
I know Nancy's mom has made it past that, but most people don't live 99 years. Can we just stop for a second and talk about this? When I heard that, it was the first red flag. Is instead of having some level of accountability
Hmm.
over the system that is authorized to be able to do this, they've basically said, here's an agreement. We're not going to ask any questions. We're just going to let you do your thing for years and years and years. I mean, that is monopoly. Okay, that is how you start to create this type of problem where people feel untouchable, is because they have a agreement that says you can provide this service and we're not going to renegotiate your contract. I love you, Mike, but if I was hiring you to do
I
some
know,
work,
I know.
okay, as much as I love you and trust you, I would still check, okay,
Yes,
to make sure that
I
it
would
was
demand
going
it. I would
okay.
demand it,
And I
honestly.
would expect that for myself. If you
Please
ask me
go
to
get
do
another
something
quote.
as Preserve Navarre, check on us. Don't just give us a job and then never check on us. Let us know if we're doing it right.
It's
And
funny.
you see this obstinance from this company because they have a 99-year agreement. That is a huge problem, guys. So just right from the get go, we should be asking our county commissioners and our state representatives, our congressmen, why does this company have an agreement that essentially has no oversight? How can we get this agreement reinvestigated every few months, or at least every year or 2 years, to be able to make sure that they're still the right people to provide this job? Because what if they're not? What if this company isn't capable of doing this, or is so corrupt that your money is going elsewhere? So that's what we know. We know that they have this long-standing agreement. So if you talk to the county commissioners, sometimes their first response is going to be, well, hey, that's not my problem. Not my problem. They have a long-standing agreement, so it is the way it is. Just kind of accept it, and that starts the fatalism and the neglect over this system by our government. Our government should be holding each other accountable. The different entities that are entrusted should be held accountable. And I did this when I was an active duty military member. I was a resource advisor, and we checked to make sure, hey, should we continue this agreement? And the fact that they don't is a problem. Okay. Second, the water system hired a CEO with an extensive criminal record. That's what you need to know. That is a fact. That is a fact that they hired this person in 2020 with a criminal record. And we're going to get into some of the questions. People are going to tell me, hey, that he had this and that was terrible, all that stuff. But maybe everybody knew, right? Maybe it was just out. People make mistakes. I made mistakes in the past, okay? Like he's made mistakes in the past. We all have. Nobody's perfect in this world, okay? But the fact is, this person was hired not with a few mistakes, okay? Not with mistakes 20 years ago or 30 years ago or even just 10 years ago, with a long history of criminal activity. And when you get into probation and violating probation, that means there was something to it. People say, well, maybe it was just bogus charges. It wasn't true. This guy was just fine and he was, wrongfully charged or accused. That is not what happened, because when you look at the record and you look at what we provided, you'll see that not only was he charged, but that there was probation showing there's more to this. And you don't get that long of a criminal record for doing nothing, right? And what we did is when I was first given the background report, okay, that our researchers found, I said, okay, let's look at this and see if this is true, because people publish stuff on the internet every day, and some of it's true, some of it's not. It's social media, right? How do you check? You go into the background report, and then you look at it saying, hey, he was arrested in Texas. So call Texas, call Midland and see, hey, he had a run in with the Florida Department of Corrections. Okay, call the Department of Corrections. And that's what you need to know. This is not just Wes's take, okay? This is not just Mike Matthews' take. This is the facts that you can find for yourself. If you want to run a background check on Dallas PV Jr., you can. We'll be happy to help you, or you can do it on your own. If you want to call Midland County Sheriff's Department, feel free. Okay, if you want to talk to the Florida Department of Corrections, we'll give you the person we talked to, and you can find this out for yourself. Okay, so these are the facts that you need to know. Third, board members are claiming that information was withheld from them in 2020. People are now saying, and you can ask them yourself, that they did not know. They did not know that he had this criminal record, that this is news to them. And that gets into the fact that this may be ongoing, and we're going to have more evidence of that coming up. But the fact that people didn't know means that somebody did and didn't share, or they didn't feel like that that's something that they should do, that they should actually investigate this person. So it's either on the one hand, people knew and they held it back, or they didn't think to check, which is hard to believe given the extensive background checks you go to, I don't know, like get a mortgage, right? Like do most jobs, as well as to serve on the water board itself, where they do background checks on everybody who joins. So this is getting into the evidence of fraud, of the fact that this criminal history wasn't out in the open for everyone to talk about, but being covered up and hidden. And that is a concern, because what else is being covered up and hidden? So those are the facts. That is what has come out in the past few days. Let's get into a little bit more. This is what we're finding out, okay? So I'm making a distinction here between what we know. I know for a fact that board members have that information withheld. I know for a fact that he has a criminal record because I've seen it. We've talked to the people from Midland, Texas, and from the Department of Corrections, et cetera, et cetera. I know for a fact this is what we're finding out. So this is the stuff we're investigating currently. This is what the media needs to be jumping into. This is what your county commissioners need to be looking into, your state representatives, the state attorney's office, the FBI. This is what they need to find out. This is more evidence that I was given over the past 24 hours that we're still looking into. And I want to be transparent with you and open about that. What we are finding is that the CEO's issues may be even bigger or more broad than previously thought. So we knew he had a criminal record. We made a decision to go public with that information after sharing it with the media, after sharing it with law enforcement. We said that's enough, that people need to care about this and they need to know. Then we found out more information. People were saying, hey, Wes, appreciate your video, but you're missing a whole lot of what this guy has done. What they are telling me is that he has additional troubles, not just run ins with the law, but run ins in court as well. I'm not going to go through the details just yet. You can research this yourself. I'm going to email out some of the information that I was given, but this is publicly available as well for you to see. Is that he also has a history of legal troubles outside of the criminal courts as recently as 2020, okay, which is still ongoing today. And there's another suit from 2011. So I've got an image of that, but you can search that and I can help you do it if you want to see it for yourself. So there are also legal battles going on. Again, we're still learning about all the details, but that's another avenue to be able to research and say, okay, so this person also has all these lawsuits going on. Secondly, there may be a history here of international crime. So the crime is not just in Texas, in Florida, potentially here in Navarre. That crime has also spread internationally to the point that international governments were involved, including in Nigeria, and there's stories on that. We don't know the extent of that. That's way beyond our jurisdiction or our group's purview. But this is the kind of stuff where you want to ask questions of the FBI and everywhere else to say, hey, what is happening over here internationally, because it doesn't seem like everything went well. And it's very concerning to me to hear the international piece, and I'll tell you why. It's because when Dallas Peavy was announced as the CEO of the water system, they specifically talked about his international business experience as a good thing, which means they knew about it.
I remember that. I'm trying to piece it all together too, right?
Yeah, they
And
had announcements saying we got an international businessman and all this stuff coming in, which means they knew that he had international business. When you start to look at the articles that came out of that, it's not a good picture. It's not the picture of a good businessman. It's of someone who had just been arrested and committed crimes, then went overseas to allegedly do the same thing. We don't know that, but that's what we're finding out is the people saying, if you're going to look into this person's record, and if you think the law enforcement media should, don't forget about the international stuff. And that's what I'm getting. So there's articles like that I posted. Go ahead, Mike.
yeah, I just kind of want to rewind back to
Yeah, go
the
ahead.
point
I get all
where
fired up about this, man. It gets me upset.
I know, and I feel like I need to calm you down
Thank
because
you.
we're it's
Talking.
information, getting information out there. I feel like you go around telling your friends and such that information is good. You take the information that's given to you and you come up with a decision, a plan, or debate with people. But again, we should probably steer away from this smear. This is information that you're
Yep.
pointing out that is readily available.
Yep.
And because it's starting to feel a little smeary, but
Yeah.
it's not.
Yeah.
It's not hidden. It's there if you
It's
go
there.
look for
Yeah.
it.
Again,
And we should want to
fair.
know about it because he's in charge of the $70 million of assets that you and I and all of our neighbors are owners of.
Yeah.
It's a member-owned nonprofit is hauling of our water system. So we are all tiny percentage owners of the company.
Yeah.
And so the board's job is to hire, find people to run the company for us. And
Right.
this is the person they've elected for us, right? And so this is what we're saying.
No, you're totally right.
Is this the right person? Is he the right fit for our community? And now I think the bigger topic is where is the money going?
Right. Right. And that's what we're going to get into next. But you're totally
And
right.
I'm jumping ahead, but
No,
it was
it's
seeming a
totally
little,
right.
you know.
So it gets me. I'll tell you why. It gets me upset. Okay, when people get lied to. That is always something
Exactly.
that makes me upset. Again,
Truth
people
is
make
so
mistakes
easy.
every day. Okay, like you get pulled over for
Yeah.
running a traffic stop or whatever. Like I do things I regret every day. That's
Yep.
part of it. What happens
Human.
is when you make those mistakes, you acknowledge them and you say, "I made a mistake. I'm gonna fix it." And then you're given a second chance, and you don't do that again, right? Like
Right.
that's what it means, for forgiveness is that you need to face that. What gets me upset was when people first don't acknowledge these things, then they cover it up, and
Or
then they
hidden.
lie to the people of Navarre and our county, Mike, and that's what really gets me upset. I've been talking to people all day about this, yesterday and then this morning, and there's a problem here in who this person was. But the bigger problem to me is that he was allowed to get to this place. That's what I'm mad about. Okay, that's what I'm mad. I'm not sitting here
I
throwing
see that.
stones from a glass house. Okay, what I'm telling you
I just wanted to
is
slow
the
conversation
system
down.
has failed us.
Well, that's my problem with
That makes me mad. So
with
you're
it
right.
because right before I came here, my wife is asking me. She says she doesn't understand how sort of the hauling of our water system works, and I said,
Right.
well, you should know because you deal with the condos and they have a similar system. And she says something. We won't say off topic because obviously it's about the topic, and it's directly the same thing. They have a board that dictates how money is moved throughout, we'll say, a condo or something. So I think people, if they spent a little bit more time, and I think that's the other part that I wanted to say too, was that we're giving people information that is, again, readily available, and here's kind of what happened. And please get involved. Please understand how it works. Spend a few minutes to figure it out. And this is the lead into it. This is why we should care.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So
no, you're
I
right.
was trying to say that. There's so much
Wallace
to say.
says, "How could the board not know?" And that's Wallace. That's what I'm saying. That's what gets me upset. It's like, at some point they had to, because when they're talking about his international business, that's where I kind of like hit fever pitch anger, because I'm like, you were celebrating his history, right? Which his history in, say, Nigeria is a problem, which means that to some level it's very likely that you knew, and then just said, "Oh no, we're going to hide that, and then we're just going to hope that the people are too dumb to figure it out."
Well, here was
Well, we
one.
figured it out.
Well, here was one.
So
A friend was like, "Why can we not get the right person in that job?"
right,
And then I have
right,
had small dealings with, we'll say, the two previous ones,
yep,
and I'm really a small
yeah,
entity in the community, but they weren't really good.
yeah.
They weren't good. Like, oh man, that guy was a good guy. You know, like you don't want to shake the guy's hand when you leave the meeting. You know,
I
that's
get it.
not
I
a
get it.
good thing.
All right, let's keep on going.
Yeah.
Janet also put some comments down saying that she knows about this. So again, people are coming out; they feel empowered to talk about this. That's what we're trying to create is a space where you can tell the truth, where the truth can come out, and you don't have to worry about harassment or people coming back after you. And the more of us that
Hmm.
talk, the more of us that tell our stories of what we've experienced and seen,
That's what I'm
the
saying.
easier it is for the truth to come out. So thank you, Janet, for talking about that. Feel free to catch up with us after and tell us more. We're going to get into some of that here in a second of what you can do. All right. So let's talk about solutions. Okay.
That's what I
Let's talk
want to
about
talk
solutions.
about.
Let's talk about what needs to happen going forward. Okay. And again, so people are saying, oh, it's like a public lynching, or Wes just hates this man, or he's coming after him from a glass house. Okay. I, what I want to see is to see him fired. Okay. I want to see him fired so that we can not talk about him anymore. Okay. Let's get him fired if he's engaging in criminal activity. Let's hand that to the law enforcement. Let's let them do their job. Okay. Let's let them investigate him. But let's just make sure that this person doesn't have access to our money. Can we agree on that? All right, whatever you think, and if you think this is horrible or not, or whatever, to the extent that you feel like this is a huge problem, we need to agree that Dallas PB has to go. As someone with this long of a criminal history, whether you feel sorry for them or not, whether you're angry or not, someone with this level, okay, of problems in their background, both long term and recent, does not need to be the CEO of a $73 million company, of which, as you said, we are all members, and it services a huge part of this county. Okay, he needs to go yesterday. He needs to be gone. He needs to be fired, and then he needs to be investigated to figure out if anything is current. Now, if he hasn't done anything beyond what I've talked about, and that's it, then there you go. At least he's not touching the system. There's not that likelihood that he's going to be able to do that in the future with our money. But what if he is? What if he is? That question needs to be answered. But it can't be answered as long as he's still in a position of authority running day to day operations of a company that big. It needs to go. Two, we need an investigation into how he was hired. We need to know more. Like Wallace says, how could they not know? And what did they know? And who knew it? So we need an investigation. That's not going to be done by me or you or Preserve Navarre.
We have enough going on.
We're a nonprofit that is not qualified to be able to do those things, or appropriate, right? This is where we need the
Yeah, there you
authorities
go.
to step in, the media to start asking questions. We need the people of this community to start getting involved. It needs to be a much
Agreed.
broader effort than just little Preserve Navarre out here trying to do the right thing. We need an audit of the entire system. I want to
I
know,
have had wanted that.
and hopefully you agree as members of this system, since the day that he took over, if not before, give us a deep audit by the people to figure this out. Not some company that they choose. Okay, they've shown that they're not capable of finding someone to be able to do this ethically. Let us determine, us as the people, up as the members, determine a forensic audit of this system, how that's going to be done, and let's find someone that we can actually trust. And I do not want the board to be choosing that because frankly, I don't trust them to do that given who they've appointed as CEO. But we need an audit of this system to see how much of the money that we have paid as water bill customers has gone in and been abused or wasted or worse, right? So we need that. All right. Number four, whistleblowers need to come forward, and I'm. This is amazing. We've had people come forward in this chat this morning, talking about this. Okay, if you are someone who has been harassed and bullied by this system or by these people, if you've been fired for without cause or for dubious reasons, if you know more than what I'm saying, okay, I've never worked for the water system. I've never been on the water board. Neither has Mike. Neither has anybody in our team. Okay, we're getting all of this stuff as we find it. But if you have personal experience you need to come forward. You need to talk to the media. You don't want to talk to us, that's fine. Talk to the sheriff's office, talk to people, and let them out. And I'm going to tell you why. It's because what we found is that this system uses NDAs, non disclosure agreements, to try to silence people. They tell you, you just signed an NDA. If you ever say a word, we will come after you. And they threaten them with lawsuits and reciprocal actions. Let me tell you something, okay? And tell everyone else who has ever been a victim of this corruption. An NDA does not cover illegal activity, okay? I can't do an NDA and say, hey, Mike, you signed this paper. Now I get to steal stuff out of your home. No, okay? Like if he signs some, I'll never say anything bad about Wes ever. And then I go steal something from his house, then he can still report that to the cops. Okay. And they'll be like, yeah, your NDA is gone because you did something bad, right?
Yeah.
If the water system makes you sign an NDA, okay, and then you have evidence they've done something unethical and especially illegal, that NDA is void. Okay, so you can go forward and tell your story. Now, if you're worried about physical violence, if you're worried about that kind of reciprocity, I totally understand. What I would advise you to do is to be an undisclosed source. Go to the media that you trust, go to reporters that you trust, maybe not even around Navarre. Figure out people that you can go to and trust. Tell them your story, but up front, tell them, I don't want my name in the paper. I will tell you right now, and you've seen it in this broadcast, I will not put your name out there. I do not want anyone exposed to risk or liability that they won't accept. We have made that decision. Okay, I've got security systems all over my house. All right, we have made that decision to come forward and talk about this and assume the risk for the people of Navarre, for your safety, and for your benefit and welfare, and for mine as a paying customer. But I would never throw that on someone else who doesn't want. So we're not going to put your name out. If you come on here and you put your name on and stuff like that, and you say, "Here, this is my story," that's amazing. You're incredibly brave. You're joining us publicly. That's awesome. We want more of that. But if you're not quite there, just send us a private message, and then I will just tell the information without exposing your identity. There are good reporters who are the same way. Professional reporters are the same way. So let's do that. And then lastly, I'm going to get fired up again because the media needs to do its job.
To rein you in.
I feel like I need to shout this. The media needs to do its job. Its job is not to only cater to its advertisers, okay, or its agenda. The media needs to do its job and tell the truth about what they know. Like, how are we? I'm not an investigative journalist. I'm just a guy who's receiving reports from people who've been hurt. Why isn't the media reporting on this story and blaring it from the rooftops? Where is Navarre Press? Where is Pensacola News Journal? Where is Northwest Florida Daily News? Where are these people? Where are the editors? Where are the reporters talking about this? Because we're not making this up, folks. We're not making this up. The media needs to have some allegiance to the truth and to tell people what they know. I don't care if you are pro incorporation or anti incorporation. I don't care whether you like me or you hate me. The truth matters, folks. The truth matters. And if your money is being embezzled, if your money is being taken away from you, if it's being wasted on corrupt schemes, then you have a right to know. And the media has a role in that, to tell the truth of what's about going on, even if they lose an advertiser or two. It matters. It matters, Mike.
Well, I was going to jump in there with a little story about,
Go ahead.
like you said, incorporation or non-incorporation. I think that there are a few things that does bind the community together, or even the two groups, we'll say, right, is the fact that the growth of our area is directly related to the water system, depending on who you ask. And those two groups, anti or for, can probably agree that there is something that needs to change in the water system because it is stunting the growth or just the impact that people have to pay.
Right.
Is it, to me, it's like the Kevin Bacon effect in our community. Except I don't think it's like 7 degrees. I think about 2 people away, we know everyone, right? So
Small
somebody
field,
knows,
man.
yes. Somebody know, and that part is definitely still here. But we should have a whole lot more by now growth. Good growth, not just more homes, more
Picking and
apartments.
choosing.
Right. And that's, I think, the other thing. Like you said, picking and choosing. But if we go back to the media, I think it's frustrating because you get so frustrating turning on the TV
Yeah.
and watching big media do the same thing. Even some of the conservatives, they still push their agenda. But then when you turn on your local,
Yeah.
if that's what we want to call it, they're not talking about anything but
Yeah.
silly stuff, right?
Well,
So this is
we
an
need to be
important
talking
topic.
about this. That's the
Yes,
important thing.
sorry.
Wallace
topic,
says
get
if
back
there
on.
was no pending warrants, did law enforcement still have an obligation to bring this to the public's attention? Yes, yes. And the media especially has an obligation because the statements that went out in 2020, which are in the video that I did yesterday, they're telling you a story. We are hiring a new CEO with all this business experience, who's going to run the day to day stuff. He's great. He's exciting. He's going to get this running, with transparency and all that stuff. That's how this was sold. I remember that. That wasn't long ago. That's how this was sold. That is not an accurate picture. It's not a complete story, and it's hiding all kinds of things. And that's what we're completing, right? And so you as a customer, you as a taxpayer, have a right to know. And if the system is not going to tell you the truth, then you need to get it from somewhere, right? And that's why I'm kind of fired up about the media. And I would love it if one of the media agencies would actually put this out, investigate it, and they'll probably do a much better job because they're
Yes.
qualified and they know how to do this stuff. And who knows what they're going to find, because we know our part is true, right? We know what we've put out to this point is factual. They may find even more. I'd love
we
to see
can
that.
only give so much effort to these certain things, and you yourself are anyways.
Yeah.
We can't give that much effort to certain things, so these entities are supposed to take on
and we need
take
them
the
to
baton.
do that. We got to kind of we need to do that. So we're going to get into what you can do about this. All right. So what can you do in order to move this along? And then we'll take some questions here at the end and wrap this up. Here are ways to get involved. So if someone says, "Okay, I'm frustrated by this. I'm angered by this.
Solution.
This is unacceptable. Our community deserves better. What can I, as an individual, do? What can Mike do? What can you do?"
Mm-hmm.
Here's 4 simple things that cost you nothing, right? For just a little bit of time, but the more people do it, the more we're going to get traction on this. 1, contact the media. I don't care if you whatever news media you follow, contact them and ask them to look into this. Okay, I don't expect people to just take my word for it, just believe everything that Wes says, right? Ask the media to look into this on their own. Ask multiple sources to look into it. I don't care what source you go to. I don't care whether you're conservative like me or liberal or whatever, moderate, anything. Ask the media sources that you know and trust to look into this. Say, hey, are you covering this? What's going on? 2, contact the county commissioners. Again, 99-year lease. Why? Why is that the case? And when are you going to do your job of holding the entities that we trust accountable? Because what that 99-year lease says is that we trust you so much that we are not going to hold you at all responsible or accountable for all these things. We're not going to be looking into what you do because there's no reason to do it, right? Why? Why was that 99-year lease given? I know it wasn't in their terms or whatever, but look into that. They need to be asking these type of questions. There are representatives who are supposed to be representing our concerns and looking out for your pocketbook. Okay, they need to look at that process. They need to be asking questions of this system because again, it is given a monopoly, folks. It is given a monopoly to provide this service. Short of you digging a well,
You can't.
this is a monopoly.
You can't.
That's a problem. I don't care what economist you talk to. A monopoly is a problem. Okay, and they need to look into this monopoly and start giving us solutions on what we can do about it. 3rd, contact law enforcement. Law enforcement. Okay, law enforcement deals with crime. All right, law enforcement. If there is criminal activity going on today, these folks need to be showing up at the front door, knocking on it, figuring out what's going on. If people knew something and they lied, they need to be the ones that are investigating that. If there's money that's being stolen today, law enforcement is going to be the ones that prosecute that. If there are additional crimes going on beyond what I've told you, all I can tell you are the facts that I've known and what people are telling me. What's going on today? I don't know. I'm not in the water board meetings. I don't know. Okay, but contact law enforcement because they can get there. And then ultimately share the information. Share the information. Talk to people about this.
Yeah.
Okay, this is how we band together. You're talking about the community and the small town feel and what makes it such a special place. Share the info. Share the info. This does not need to be Wes Seiler's issue or even Preserve Navarre's issue. Okay, we don't like this. All right,
No, I wouldn't.
our meetings are not like this. And you're right. Like getting fired up and angry about it is not, it's not an emotion I want to sit in. Okay, I hate being here,
No,
Mike.
I know,
I
I
really
know.
do. I hate getting to this level.
Well, I hope that people understand that, right?
Yeah,
Is that if you didn't do anything, then are you complicit just as well? So doing something sort of made it our
yeah.
mission, but it's not really our mission. It's just,
It's not our
again,
mission. No,
put
our mission
put it
is
out there.
accountability. But
Accountability. Thank you. Right word.
but and we're setting off. We're blowing the whistle. But other people, look at this. Couple comments that just came in. Ken says he says it's the county has no oversight. He thinks it's the state of Florida. Fine, go to your state representatives.
Yeah.
We're in the middle of an election season. Ask the state representatives how they stand on this. Okay, there needs to be someone at the
Yeah.
government level who authorized that contract. Maybe not them. Maybe it was their office. Maybe it was their predecessor or his grandfather.
We're just saying
apparently.
do something, right?
But yeah,
So,
talk to the government entities, and if they try to shift blame, and the county commissioners say, "Well, this isn't my problem," whose problem is it? Well, maybe it's the state rep, and then the state rep says, "Oh, it's the county's problem." Keep going until they actually get up and do their jobs. People are not going to do their jobs in this unless we demand it, and that is the point. That's
yes.
why we have had this information, and we're going public with it to trust you to be able to take it to the next level by forcing the institutions to do what they should have done already. Frankly.
Well, and I know I'm cutting you off.
Oh, you're
You
fine.
get
You're
on
fine.
your you
You're
get on
fine.
your roll. I do too. And then it's like, wait, cut me off. Uh yes, again, it is not our number one mission. It is just another one of information that was given to us, and what do we do with it? So I think sometimes, maybe like your video yesterday, I feel like I'm always judgmental, right, of some of our
I need it.
actions,
Thank
right?
you. No,
Is to
keep,
say,
keep me.
well, whiny
on
boy,
point.
whiny boy up there whining. It's like, but we as a group have been wondering when and how do you get the information out there. So it's just like, I feel like you took it upon yourself to finally just go and get it out there. And it wasn't, normally your stuff's kind of polished. You're kind of, you know, little top
Honest
tier
feedback.
there. Yeah.
Go ahead. Go
So
ahead.
it's like,
I can take it. Go ahead.
well,
You
I
look
was
like a wild man out there.
talking about it yesterday with somebody, and he was kind of like, well, it kind of came off, and I'm like, I know, and I see the thing. I was like, oh man, but
I'm sorry it wasn't polished. It was the truth, and I was.
well, that's how I
and
feel
still
this
am.
morning. I was running late, and I just kind of
All right.
jumped over here. Yeah,
So,
go.
let me get to some questions and stuff. If you got stuff for it, so this is it, right? Like this slide right here. Contact the media, county commissioners, law enforcement, state reps. Ken, you can add that in there. Share the info. Put it on your page. Look at it yourself, right? Like it doesn't need to be my opinion. Clearly,
Yes, yes.
I'm not polished, but look at
ahead.
it yourself. If you want to, I'll give you the contacts to Midland County. I'll give you the contacts to the Department of Correction. You can do your background check yourself and look into that. 30, $40, and you can have a background check done. You can see this. Ask the water board yourself. Ask them.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, you don't have to ask me. Ask them. So
I like that idea.
take this and
There are
and-
representatives.
exactly. Yeah, take this and ask them yourself.
Another
Make
person.
up your own mind. And so
Yes.
David Hodges just put in something. He said, from Preserve Navarre's position, if Navarre becomes incorporated, is it desired for the water company to be city controlled? David, I am not going to answer that, and I'm going to tell you why.
Couldn't.
I'm not going to answer that question because this issue is bigger than incorporation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Yes, if anybody knows me, they know that I believe Navarre should stand for itself for home rule incorporation.
Mm-hmm.
This issue has nothing to do with that.
Water.
Nothing to do with that because even if incorporation was to happen at the soonest available opportunity, you're still looking years down the road.
Yeah.
Okay? This is a problem, David, today, right now. I paid my water bill 2 weeks ago. Okay, like this is a problem. I'll pay it again in 2 weeks. This is a problem that is bigger than Navarre being incorporated because the system services even more than us.
It
Again,
does. Fair point.
45,000
Yeah.
customers. Okay, so it's a separate issue. We're going to get back to talking about incorporation, David. Pretty soon. Okay, and we'll be able to answer that question. But I'm just trying to communicate that this is something that should unite us all. You could be the most fierce anti-incorporation, person here. Meet me at a point where we both care about how our water bill's being spent. So sure, there's probably some ways to do this better, and incorporation could help that. That's not where we're at right now, David. That's I still believe in it. It's all that, but this is one of those things of like truly breaking news. You need to know, and that's
Yeah.
kind of why I'm doing this session here, just quick. That's why I did the video,
It just feels quick. It
my
feels quick.
unpolished video
It
out
just feels quick.
in front of the bushes, right? Like I'm just getting it out. So it's all good, David. We'll have that conversation later. But let's go back to
You can answer
what
some
needs to
questions.
happen before we can
Okay.
have that conversation. Here, it's right here. This is what needs to happen. Before we can even talk about like that. This needs to happen today, right? Not by a city of Navarre, but by the authorities and by the media, right? This needs to happen. So
Yeah.
anyway, um, yeah, just respond. It's a good question, David. I really appreciate it. I just want you to know where we're at and the severity of the crisis. If this was something minor, like, hey, I think there's a better way to do sanitation. Maybe we could open that up with the city. Like, sure, yeah,
Yeah,
of
you
course there
can
is.
burn your trash. I guess, yeah, I guess you could
Right.
boil
That's
your
the
water, but
infrastructure. We need more infrastructure.
infrastructure.
This is like at the level of criminal behavior and multi-million-dollar embezzlement fraud. Like this is way bigger.
Yeah.
Hence my thing. Um, okay, so let's get to some questions here, and then we'll finish out here. I said we would go for an hour, so we got about 15 minutes. I'm gonna just go up to a little blank slide here, and appreciate it, Wallace. Thank you for that. I'm just gonna drag here a couple of the questions that stood out to me, and if you've got more, I can see the chat as you can tell. I'm just gonna start pulling a couple of these up, and we can talk about it. You'll see them coming up on the screen.
Yeah, you're multitasking.
So, hey, John Dawes says resignation is due, forensic audit is due, his hiring should be investigated. Boom. There it is. There it is, right? Like,
Hmm.
if you've got nothing to hide, then you're not going to worry about this, right? A forensic audit, well, we got nothing to hide. Great, then do it. His hiring should be investigated. If it was totally innocent, then what do you have to
My
worry about?
my first thought is this right here.
Yeah.
People say expense
Yeah.
in the forensic, right? Forensic audit, but
Look at
it needs to be
about
done. 1970, the inception. So we've got a lot of years that we need. Anyways,
it does. The whole situation makes me upset, but to be clear, his resignation is due because he is unqualified. Okay, it's not out of hate. It's not out of like, rah, I'm angry. So like that's part of this, and I feel it clearly, and I know Mike does too. I know you're holding stoic, but
well, I got to keep you in check.
but his resignation is due because we can do better, right? We can find someone to manage the system that doesn't have an extensive criminal background. We can find that, but it's not me. Okay, like it's not our. We can. I guarantee you, in a community like this, we can find someone. I've met them.
I
I've met
know.
amazing people who can do a better job.
So that was, yeah, that was one of the things. Why can we not find somebody that's
we can do it.
qualified?
Yeah.
And it's like, are they not getting paid enough? I think they get paid pretty
Here's a
well.
message. Person has to be anonymous. None of the info was provided to the board as a whole when he was hired. That's a problem. That's a problem. When the information is being withheld by the people who are supposed to have oversight. Okay, that's a problem. All right, but again, I'm not putting names out there for people who don't want it. If you comment publicly and your name's out there and all that stuff, then it's already out there. I will simply add that one cannot be placed on probation, which he has violated if one was not convicted of a crime. So there is that, and that's coming from several people of like you don't get on probation for doing nothing. And so when we look at his criminal record, some people out there saying, well, maybe this is just something that's been resolved. Maybe this is something that he feels sorry for. Maybe he's had a turnaround in his life that happens to all of us. I became a Christian and it changed a lot of things in my life. And I've known many people who've completely different people than who they were 5, 10, 20 years ago. That's not what we see. That's not what I don't see any apology. I see again that type of stuff being covered up, which tells me
Hiding, yeah.
that there's probably even more to it, right? And that's what we want to find out if that's true. And this is kind of like what Shane was saying. I think a man should get a second chance as long as he's a changed man. I totally agree with this, Shane. Okay, I just want you to know I totally agree that if you're a changed man and you've had mistakes in your past, that you should get a second chance. That's why we don't put you in prison forever if you if you violate a law. If he had some type of criminal behavior and then he'd never done it again, if there was, and if he had come forward about it and said, hey, yep, and owned it and said, yep, this is what I did. I'm sorry about it. Look at me now. I'm a great businessman and I've cleaned everything up. Sure, we'd be having a different conversation. It'd still be concerning, and I wish we would have known, but it'd be a lot easier. That's not what we're seeing. We're seeing a pattern of fraud. We're seeing a pattern of lying about it and hiding it, and we don't know what's currently going down and if this behavior is continuing until we get those answers. It's entirely possible that this behavior is continuing as it has for many years. So a couple more here. Why would you not question the judgment of the board commission that willingly or ignorantly put a man in control that has a criminal background of this type? And she says the same thing. I know with all the retired military and government employees in this area. I mean, just average folks, right? Like anybody, whether you served or not, we can find people that have,
Business owner.
yeah, that have ethical sensibilities and then that don't have this extensive history. So you don't have to be perfect, okay? Just don't be a criminal, and certainly not a repeated one in order to make six-figure salaries and supervise multi-million-dollar budgets. So the standard is higher for that than it is for day to day.
That is the most correct statement, right?
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
I'm not getting more polished.
You don't need to be right there.
Last
The
couple ones, and then
standard
I'll
should
look
be
at
higher.
the ones.
Exactly.
Third party that vetted Mr. Peavy didn't provide any charges he had was included. And so again, that's why people get mad. This is what makes me upset. Is when stuff is hidden. When you're lied to, I'm upset. When
I like
things
the
are,
truth.
yep. When you're, and this is it. And this is what sets me off. Is why I was the truth out here. All right, looks like I got like three or four more. Similar to the question before about incorporation, Georgia says, I appreciate it. I am, however, not interested in incorporating in Navarre. And just like before, just showing you the consistency here. That's okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's separate. You don't have to. I don't expect you to. Like, that's fine. I don't like Wes Seller. He's too unpolished. Like, totally fine. I'm just going to keep with it.
I know.
You don't.
Until it burns
We,
in.
we all live here. We're all customers. Okay? We're all customers of the system, and that means that we deserve to know where our money's going. Feel free. Georgia, vote no. Corporation, tell me all the reasons it's a terrible idea, but let's at least agree on this issue for now.
The system is also
make a
broken
difference
up
today. Yeah, go ahead.
into sections too, right? So you got like Holly by the Sea and you got East Navarre. You have different sections of it. And so different sections are going to have different problems or needs. There's going to be gravity sewer, there's going to be low pressure, and then there's going to be people
Yeah.
who are having problems. A friend of ours is in Holly by the Sea, and there's a huge section of that which was forced to move a fence. The problem isn't anyone's problem, but anyways, it's just your needs in the community are going to be different for where you're at, and so that's
Yeah.
part of it too. So some people are going to have no idea about some of the things that are going on, right? Because you are only affected by what you're affected by. So right here, you're not affected by the same thing that people are down in like low-lying land where groundwater is an issue, and then that makes everything an issue. Your water ain't. So it just depends on kind of where you're at too. Even though we are a small community, there is diversity just in land and the type of sewage and water that you're getting at that point. So anyways, it's a bigger, and that gets back to, doesn't matter if you're for Inc. or not, that you need water, everyone needs water, and you need to be able to flush your toilet.
Yeah.
So
And this affects us all, right? Affects the entire county. So you're right. The last one I just shared was some tips of what more is going on that we don't know about his record. This should be shared with local media outlets. I sent it to everybody. The emails that you've seen have gone to every local news source.
and this is where we're at.
And I know they're looking into it. I know they're good. So I don't mean to be too hard on them. I know there are good reporters out there and stuff. And I know they're looking into this, and that's exciting. I want to see the stories. I want to see them pick it up. I want to see them ask the same questions, and I want them to be unafraid to tell the truth. Has anyone reached out to our county commissioner, Dave Peach? No, I don't know what his stance is on this. Again, I am not a fan of that 99-year contract. If it was a county commissioner from our group or someone that I had influence over, I would really hope that they would be calling that into question and working with the state reps to be able to say, hey, this can't stand, and take it and run with it and hold them accountable. So good, but that's what we want, right? It's like, ask those questions. Let's get Dave talking about this on his town halls and everything, and telling us what he knows. And the last one, and I'll look at the most recent stuff, is Terry, really good friend of mine, amazing business owner, said the commissioners hold no sway over the water board. That's a problem. That first statement, just focus on that. So our representatives have no sway, no power over a $70 million company in our community. Your representatives are totally incapacitated to be able to hold this system accountable with the massive amounts of money at its disposal. That's a problem if they can't even look into it. It's a private, not for profit entity that is not even subject to the Florida Sunshine Laws. Hello. Hello. I can tell you this right now. Preserve Navarre is a nonprofit. If you want to know our finances, come to a meeting because I publish them all the time. You want to see our bank account? You can go with me down the street and we'll do it together. Okay, we ain't that rich.
No.
So I'm just letting you know. Our records are on. I report them. Our any advertising that we do and all
Preach.
that stuff that goes around the community, which we haven't done all that much. You don't see preservative virus signs all over the place. But when we do any of that stuff, it goes through Tappy up at the county. You want to know more about me? You can do a background check on me or Mike and all that stuff. Um, I think the sunshine laws are a great thing. If you have nothing to hide, then you should comply. These folks don't. The only recourse is for water users to push back against the board. Sure, and go to the media and go to law enforcement and all that stuff. Get these representatives to do their job. This has been done several times, but not in a sustained way. And that's because it needs to be everybody, right, Terry? It
Mm-hmm.
needs to be all of us. It needs to be the media. It needs to be law enforcement. The county commissioners need that can't stand having no sway. We need to fix that. They need to have some sway. State reps need to have some sway. We cannot have this type of pseudo government entity with a monopoly telling us having that much jurisdiction over our lives and our money, right? That's got to change. So let me look at these oversight on the golf course. Yeah, we can get into that. It's not a 501c3, David. It's a different type of nonprofit. C3 is a charity. It's like and I can get you more information about how it actually folds out. But it is a 501, so it is a not for profit. And so when you see them having, you know, access to massive resources, that's a cause for concern. And again, a nonprofit should not be for lucrative, salaries and all that kind of stuff. I'm looking back through here. We're going to wrap this up in just a couple minutes.
Yeah, there's
I
so
don't
much to talk
know.
about.
Well, I'm going back to the old ones. I don't know, Wallace, if Dallas people provided references. I believe they had a hiring firm. Again, this is stuff that I've just been told. I haven't verified it myself. But the question to
There you
ask
go.
is, I've been told that they spent $20,000 to $30,000 on some kind of hiring firm to go find him, and then just kind of trusted that it would be fine. It's like I could find you somebody for 1% of that. Like I could go find you plenty of good people in this community that could run the stuff. Business owners. You just go down the street and ask them. You can find people to run it without having to spend $20,000 or $30,000 of our money to find a crook. Um, ongoing corruption has been a concern. And David, I appreciate it, man. I really do understand it's a separate issue. I wasn't trying to be hard on you at all. I really appreciate your comments, and it's a good thing to
Yeah.
ask about. So I just wanted to be clear. If you're anti-ink and you all that stuff, fine, fine. Go investigate this yourself. I'd love to see that, David. I'd love to see that. I think there's been a lot of resistance to them publishing that information of what's going on. And then Ken, you're going to be the last one here. Not a government entity, so slightly different issues. It's confusing, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
so you have, so just so you guys know, and if you're not a conservative, that's fine. I'm a conservative. I believe in free enterprise. I believe in the power of the American economy, of business owners being able to buy and sell and all that stuff and compete. I believe in that. I think that's the engine that makes a lot of our society go, and it should be what we defer to also. Then you have the government, which I believe should be very limited,
Yes.
okay, and provide certain services that either the private economy can't do or that they just can't foresee. Like helping prepare for hurricanes and law enforcement when you have crime. When you look at this system, it's like in between both, right? Here's the
Yes.
private sector where people compete.
Yes.
Here's the government, which should be limited and only do certain things. Here is the water system that is this pseudo government nonprofit that evades any type of government accountability, right? Because they have a 99-year contract, and like Terry's saying, the county commissioners can't do crap, right? So they're evading government oversight and all the things that we put in place to watch the politicians. It's also evading the private sector because of the 99-year contract. They don't
There's
have
no
to compete.
competition.
There's no competition. You want to set up a water company, they'll crush you, right? Like sorry, we have an agreement.
That's
It's
how you would control them, would be competition by saying, oh, okay, Holland and Var, I'm going to come in and I'm going to be your
right,
competition. That will force them to do
right,
services that they wouldn't normally do.
right.
And we all know this, that are concerned about it, right? But you're right. That's why we like it so much. Capitalism, that you can
Yeah,
come in and say, all right, well, I'm going to give you competition in the
yeah.
same market. And no one can come into the market and give them any
Yeah, I mean, it's
competition.
just very basic.
Yeah.
You can go across the street, and if you don't want to eat at Scooters, you can
Yes.
go eat at Windjammers. You don't want to eat at Dabs, you can go to Dunkin', right? Like, you have different options. We don't have an
So the
option
benefit to
for the
them
water system.
is what we're not taking advantage of, right? Which is getting people on the board and getting people as CEO that do what we need to do to have
Yeah,
lower bills, a better running system, which just means that you have cleaner water, you have the sewage not being discarded into our waterways, right? I mean, then again, the conversation's big. We're trying to keep it to an hour. I like you, this gets me going, and I'm trying to.
Be careful, you get unpolished.
Yeah.
All right, so
Okay, there you go.
if you care about this issue, take the mantle up. Take the mantle up. Don't just take it from me. Learn about it. Get informed. Demand answers. You find out stuff we don't know. You found out any mistake that I've made, anything that I've told you this morning that I was missing out on. Please let me know so I can get to the truth. That's what matters, folks. What matters is the truth. What matters, you folks looking into it. I'm so grateful that you joined on this chat today. Looks like we had about 50 people or more that joined into immediately. We'll have this video available for people to look at afterwards. And then, of course, I'll be emailing stuff out. So join the preservenavar.com distro. It's from our website. You can just go on there, sign up, and you'll get that. Again, you want to join, you want to learn about this, you can. But this is not normal. This isn't what we normally do. We normally don't, start going after people. I do get fired up, but not in this type of way. Typically, thank you. And
Yeah,
but we're gonna provide everything that we know. But like I said, take it up. Go to the water system, demand answers from your local representatives. Figure out what's going on. And like you were saying, Mike, let's do this better. Let's do this better in the future.
That's what it is.
Let's have a nonprofit that actually uses our money for what it's supposed to. That actually has oversight and accountability. Let's pay attention to what's going on in our community, and we'll all be better for it, guys. So
Exactly.
y'all have a great rest of the day. Enjoy your weekend. Look forward to talking to you soon. We'll have a meeting here in a few weeks, but I'll put more details about that later. Y'all
I'm not
have
sure
a
how you were
blessed
going to
day,
do an hour.
and we'll see you soon.
There's an hour.
There we go. Right at an hour. Take care.